Hey guys, NintendoCapriSun here, and welcome back to Tears of the Kingdom. This is the all Bubbul Frogs episode, and so for this one, I thought I'd read this little... since this one's a little bit shorter, I thought I'd read this little collection of memories I have. I believe this is like really early 90s here, like 91 or 92, and it's just a bunch of little short one-page stories about stuff that happened in my life, so I thought, well, here we go. Like, there's not as much philosophical meandering back then, it's all just kind of random stuff that happens, which might be boring, I fully expect this to be boring as hell. So this first one is called Saturday Night at Mom's House. It was Saturday night, November 30th, the second last day of Thanksgiving vacation. I had been feeling pretty sneaky tonight, so I walked into the utility room and closed the door. The last thing I remember saying was, "I want that for Christmas," in response to the commercial about the comedian Victor Borge. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, B-O-R-G-E. I'm tempted to look this guy up now and see if any of his stuff is on YouTube, I don't know. The rest of the time I spent on the other side of the window listening to Steve tell the story about the disappearing wheelchair man. Some of the time I walked up and down Mom's driveway. The thing of this is that, like, back then I just didn't really go outside very often, and I especially didn't go outside at night. So anytime I had experiences that were outside at night, those were always, like, really exciting to me, even if all I was doing was walking up and down the driveway. It's so weird, man. So this next one is called Mark, Josh, and Me at the Hospital. This was my favorite one. It's this night, just, I don't know. This is one of the best memories I've ever had. I had just gone to Josh's house kind of late at night. Well, Mark asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital with him and Josh. I didn't really want to go, because I thought we were just going to go down the road and look up at the hospital, but I went anyway. So we started by crossing the road into the yard of the people's apartments across the street, but this wouldn't take us anywhere, would it? No way. But actually, it did take us somewhere. I didn't know what road this was. We continued on and climbed this steep hill up to the parking lot outside of the hospital. Then we started rolling down the hill on our butts. That was fun. Then after I had done enough talking about Solid Snake and Metal Gear, Mark must have begun to think something because he started looking in people's cars. Then from one car he stole a green flashlight and Josh got a scope. I didn't take anything because I don't believe in stealing. Anyway, we went all over, then we went by a smaller building and drew stuff on the AC unit. It was huge. Ever since we came back, life has stunk. Okay, this one's called Max's House. What a great place to go, especially when you're spending the night. One time we went down to his lake, talking about Nintendo and meeting people. Another time we took a long walk down his road. I keep calling it his lake, his road? Okay. Down his road all the way to Chris Fattig's house. F-A-T-T-I-G, that was actually his name. Then he and Chris got into a sort of fight for no reason at all. They must have been faking. Another memory is when we walked down that road under the trees, I can't imagine what's left of it now, and came to a field on one side and a forest on the other. We came to Max's girlfriend's house and she showed us her horse barn. We even went in her house. What a memory. For the first time I watched Darkman and The Abyss there. What was the first time I watched The Abyss was there? Oh. Okay, this one's called Metroid Exploration, Max and Ashley. Metroid was the first game I ever borrowed from Max. In Nicholson, we had a large room with a 12-foot ceiling next to the front hall to the left. I would sit there, play Metroid, and discover all these neat places. Prior to Christmas 1991, it's the only game I got here that I paid for. Metroid was what kept me from missing Max too much. He's the only friend I have who shares interest in Nintendo as big as I do. Ashley Pittman from Benton was a good friend. She was related to our neighbors, I think. Or maybe she's just a good friend of them. I saw them walk by the window when I played Metroid one time. It's weird how, like, pointless this is, and yet at the same time there's like a wistful innocence to it, I don't know. This one's called 8th Grade Friends. 8th grade. Ugh. A basic school day in the 8th grade, and 4th period is upon us. Literature is the subject. We're studying Roman gods. I remember Miss Wilbanks telling us we could sit anywhere we wanted to, on the floor, in a desk. Max, Chad, and Andy always sat together, and Steve and Matt always sat together. Sometimes I would want to sit with Max, then Matt would tell me to come over and sit with him. I cannot imagine why I never liked sitting with him. It may have been because I enjoyed being with Chad and Max too much, or it may have been that Matt always disapproved of my ideas and bossed me around. Anyway, we always sat there working on our drawings. Sometimes we would even turn out the lights. It was wonderful because there were no windows to make it seem still too bright. At Commerce, it's torture. In 4 out of 6 of my classes, we have entire walls made of windows. I can't even think in the intensity of that dadgum light. Bye. Christmas 1990, okay. Mega Man 3 was my all-time favorite for Nintendo in November of 1990, even though I had never played it in my life. This game had to be good, because the first 2 were stupendous. And there were 8 new robots, 8 new stages, and 8 new themes of music to listen to. This, to me, was the best part. I had been kind of nervous that year because I knew I wasn't going to get it. Yeah, so my parents did this every single year. They would say, you know, the money situation's not real good right now, so please don't expect too much here, but then they would always surprise us. Well, Christmas came soon enough, and I remember opening that first present, which I knew was a game. It was Willow. I was glad, but I noticed it was the only Nintendo game I had gotten. None of the others were the same shape or size of a Nintendo game pack. But I opened 4 more presents that were shaped like shoeboxes. All of them were shoeboxes with Nintendo games in them. Dr. Mario, Legacy of the Wizard, Mega Man 1, and Castlevania 3. Then the very last present that Mom and Dad showed me was a huge box full of newspapers. I removed the newspapers one by one, and there it was. The blue box. Mega Man 3. Amen. He didn't talk about the part where he faked his reaction to it. I tell that story in Mega Man 3 Part 1 if you're wondering. Okay, Steve's Lake House, the pontoon boat, and Gilligan's Island. The first time we got to the lake house, it was very late at night, but I was very impressed. On the front, it looks like the door is at ground level, but you just walk across the house to the other side, and now you're 20 feet above ground level. So you just walk down the stairs, across the grass, and to the lake. We went on the pontoon boat once, that was great. We went all over the lake, and I always brought Cokes to brighten up the trip. We took a ride to the sandbar out in the middle of the lake where the water is cold. We always ride down to get gas for the boat, and we ride by all the areas where there are other lake houses. It's hard to believe people actually live in these things. Then one time we went to an island. It was pretty much out in the open. There's a huge rock there to piss on, but I went on a tree and saw it was infested with ants. The newest discovery we made is that there is a way to walk across the whole lake area separating Gilligan's Island from the land. Gilligan's Island is the island I was talking about earlier. Yeah, these are really short, it's just each one is like whatever. Babysitting with Batman. Did I tell this story in the LP, the Batman LP? I don't know if I did, but one time I had to babysit for someone because Steve was going bowling or something with their parents. I remember eating a bowl of Trix when I first got there. Then I went into the room and saw they had a Nintendo there. First I played Marble Madness, then Mickey Mouse. Then I tried Batman. I played and played until I got to the end of the 3rd level out of 5. I couldn't beat that boss. That was a great memory because the people who were there couldn't get as far as I did, but I had never played it before. David and Matthew and the new Previa? Back when Mickey and Nedra were still married, we went to a Toyota celebration. They were selling Previas. When Dad saw how much we liked them, he just bought one. It sounds crazy to buy a car that cost $16,000 without planning it out first. Then we drove to Bob Moore's house. He's Dad's boss. When we got there, we went into the forest and pretended to hunt for a bear. Then we went and played Super Mario 2 in David's room. Later, we went out to jump on the trampoline, then we hid in the basement and surprised the grown-ups by hiding. They even had a pool table there. What an experience. Dad eventually got fired from that job, and part of it, I think, was because his boss set him up, but there was also a thing where he was having an affair with somebody who worked there, so yeah. Mark's aunt's birthday and Hulk Hogan. I hope I can get the wrestling buddies for Christmas this year. The story about how I got to liking them so much is a great memory. What? I had no idea who or where Mark's aunt was, but I did know that we were planning to pay her a visit and wish her a happy birthday. When we got there, they sure have a bumpy driveway. Boy, was that house big. When I sat down by the fireplace in the corner, I saw Mark's cousin, I guess, playing with some wrestling buddies, WBs. He was young. I picked up Hulk Hogan and started beating up on him. This was fun. That was a memorious night, and I hope we can go again. I don't know if I ever got the wrestling buddies. It's hard to believe I ever wanted something like that, but I guess... I don't know. Kid Icarus in Michigan? Oh god, I've definitely told this one. 2 of my favorite Nintendo games 2 years ago were Kid Icarus and Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. One time we rented the 2 games together. Mary wanted to play Zelda 2, but I wanted Kid Icarus. Well, the heck with Zelda 2, I thought. She'll pay for Zelda 2 and I'll pay for Kid Icarus. When we went back, I just pretended that I had paid for Zelda 2 and she had paid for stupid old Kid Icarus. I loved Zelda 2 after playing it one night. Time went on. Later I had been feeling like I really wanted to play Zelda 2 again, but I also missed Kid Icarus. I thought that if I could just get tired of Kid Icarus, I could concentrate totally on Zelda 2. Then that would be the only game I wanted. Well, in time, we went up on a trip to Michigan, and in the basement they had a Nintendo with Kid Icarus. This was perfect. I showed off and did everything with that game. I crushed my desire to ever want to play it again. Now it was Zelda 2 all the way. After a while, we went down to the Athens Mall and bought Zelda 2 and Contra for Mom. This was 2 years ago. I want to play Kid Icarus again. Mark, Josh, and me at the hospital, too. Being away from the hospital for a week was not that bad on the last couple of days because I sort of forgot about it and am now thinking about Christmas. Well, we went back. This is the best night I've had for a while. On this trip, we re-ran through some stuff I failed to mention last time. First is the patch of trees we stand behind to see if anyone is looking. This trip began just like the first one, but when we looked in cars, all we found was some bubble tape, so we sat at the top of the hill and ate it. I was gonna spit it back in the container and put it back in the car, but I just spit it in the container and threw it away. Oh, mister, I don't believe in stealing, huh? Then we started playing a game where we had to throw each other down the hill any way we could. I was the best, obviously, since I weigh above 150. When we came back, Janice was nicer than I expected. I hope Mark has as good luck as I did. So I guess life will stink once again for another week. Alright, so now this one's called Max Turned 16, so he drove to my house. Everyone gets their license at 16, and so did Max near his 16th birthday, October 13th, 1991. Shortly after that, I was astounded when he decided to drop by without calling. He brought Chad with him. The first thing I did was play golf video against Chad. I beat him pretty well. Then I watched Max and Chad play with my sword and fight each other fakingly. But finally we had to say goodbye. I hope that I will see him again before Christmas 1991. It's coming up. Miss Dixon and the Fart Man. This was a dream Mary had. This is how it went. Me and Mary and Miss Dixon, my 3rd grade teacher, had been cleaning up her room in Jacksonville. Suddenly, this real fat man came in. He started farting. It stank real bad, so Mom came and took Mary out of the room, and I followed the two of them. We left Miss Dixon in there. I don't know if there is any more to the dream, but it is something to remember our young days by, because she tells it at least once a year. This one's called TMNT 2. This was an event in which me, Mary, and Ashley Jackson were at my house. At the time I'd been in my room doing something, I received a call from Josh that he had a new Nintendo game at his house. It was TMNT. Oh, I thought he was talking about the movie, dude. It was TMNT 2. I rushed to his house on foot and we played it together. Boy, were we a good team. Then Mark came over and we played it some more. While the 3 of us were there playing it, I suddenly remembered only 3 hours ago I had been reading Nintendo Power with a stage select and 10 turtle code. I told them I'd rush back to the house to get it and they said okay, so I rushed back, got the codes, and hurried back. On the way back I passed Dad, and in his truck there was Mary, Jesse, and Mark. I was absolutely PO'd. I was going to come back and enjoy victory with both of them, but Dad and Sherry had taken Mark with them. Darn it. Well, I got back and we did the codes. Well, on about the second to the last stage, Mark came back and we beat it. But when we beat it, Mark threw the controller down because he was so happy, and it reset the Nintendo, so we never got to see the ending, but Mark didn't seem to care. The night I stayed up, Mary and Jessica had joined a basketball league, so they had to get some uniforms to wear. Jessica and Mary got some little paint things that let you draw on your shirt, so I started doing one with Mario and Yoshi. I was waiting for it to dry when Dad came in around 10 and said I should go to bed. Well, I began cleaning up my room just so it would be cleaner, and it was so fun, I wound up staying up until 1 a.m. doing it. 3 times I had to go downstairs to put away some dirty glasses and Coke bottles that had been there for over 2 months. Then I saw the Game Boy there, and the Mega Man cartridge was irresistible. I figured just one game wouldn't hurt, so I played it, and for the first time, I got to Dr. Wily. Boy, was that a thrill. I didn't beat him. I'd also prettied up my sword so it would look nice. I painted a rainbow design of colors on the sword and golden electric currents. Since I was still a big Super Mario World freak back then, this should be a memory to last. This one's just called Jason. Near the beginning of 1992, about 5 minutes before Mom was supposed to come on her lunch break, Mark came over with some other boy who looked like he was about my age. Mark asked the boy if he had ever played Super NES, but he hadn't ever played it, so Mark asked him if he wanted to. So we went upstairs to play mine. I had been at Roy's castle. Mark tried it first, but he was killed. Then the boy tried it. He was killed. Soon Mom came with lunch from Dairy Queen. I tried to eat it fast so I could go back to my room and play with them. While I was there eating lunch, they left. I went upstairs again and beat the game. When I got there, I saw that they had passed because they left Mario standing outside Chocolate Island 1. While I was watching the end, though, they came back, so we played it together again, and I really got to know the boy. His name is Jason. He is a great friend. That's funny, I don't even remember who this is. But it sure was fun to have someone else to meet and play with. On this day, Mark beat Bowser. I was amazed. Zelda's second quest at James's house. We took a vacation trip to Jacksonville one time. That's where we used to live in Florida. Mom was a good friend of Gobi Stefan, so we planned to pay her a visit. Me, Dad, Mom, and Mary went. When we got there, James was playing Zelda. James was on level 7 in the second quest. He didn't know how to get through it, so I offered to help. I remember beating the whole game in front of everybody. I sure would like to be able to beat all of my games in front of a lot of grown-ups. Ashley's birthday. February 14th, 1992. This fell on a Friday, so we had to go to school. While on the bus, I heard Mary and Ashley arguing over something. Well, when we walked in the house and Mom called when she talked to Mary, I knew something was wrong because she started crying. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. It was Ashley, and she and Mary worked things out, and then later we played outside. It was my favorite type of day, cloudy. I was being the bad guy, capturing Mary and Ashley at intervals, and Ashley found the chain Dad uses to keep his fish on after he catches them. She used it as a weapon and killed me with it. We were pretending. Then I pretended to join the good side, and they captured me when they found out I was still evil. Later, Mark and Cher came, and we went to Pizza Hut and rented Super Ghouls and Ghosts for the SNES. It's okay. I just hope I still want Castlevania 4 when I'm through with this one. When we came back, Mark and I played it for a while, and soon we went back to Josh and Ashley's house for some ice cake. This was a memorious night. I hope the rest of the weekend goes this well. The day after Ash's birthday, okay. Today is the day after Ash's birthday. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours. I think I beat Ghouls and Ghosts, but I'm not quite sure yet. He must have finished the first, run. Last night, Mark spent the night, so when I woke up this morning off Dad's waterbed, it came as no surprise to me to hear the music going loud and clear. Apparently me and Mary and Mark were the only ones there, so we played that morning and soon had to leave. Of course. Soon Dad came back and took Mark to the dance or whatever he said he was going at 5. When supper time rolled around, we had hamburgers, but Dad could not find mayo in the fridge. He got upset, but when he looked up into the cabinet, I heard him say, "Aha!" And as he was walking back, he had a whole new jar of mayo there in his hand. About 3 hours later, we watched Ren and Stimpy. That show cracks me up. Just looking at Stimpy makes me laugh. A bus ride not to be forgotten. Okay. I wrote a previous memory about this one, and later I tore it out because not only did it turn out dumb, but also the pen I was using was nearly out of ink. I tell about my bus ride not because of the bus or the ride, but because of the other kids who ride the bus. Twan, for example, is one of my favorites. He is a small, chubby black boy who usually saves me a seat to sit with him. He will talk to me and tell me to draw stuff for him. Another person I like sitting with is Ashley. She often asks me to help her with her math homework. Times like this make me thankful that I have the aptitude. However, I hope Ashley learns to do problems on her own when I won't be around. The algebra tournament, alright. I won 13th place in the state of Georgia and parts of 2 or 3 other states, but it was easy and fun. We took the bus to Greater Atlanta Christian School in Atlanta. We left CHS at 7:15 a.m. that morning. We finally got there and we sat in this gigantic gym. We had tests later on, and then before we had ciphering, we drank Coke and ate chips outside beneath the roof projecting from the gym. The ciphering was easy. We each took our turn going up there to answer questions. CHS got first place, but if I'd written my name on that stupid third problem, we would have beaten them even worse. The great part was after ciphering when we went to lunch. We went to Gwinnett Mall. I went with Kevin Garrison, Chad Sears, and Efren Martinez. I went to Chick-fil-A and got chicken nuggets. I sat across from Kevin as we ate, and he shared his nachos with me. Later, while we were looking at the map, Efren ran away and we had to go catch him. There, for the first time, I saw Castlevania 4 on sale. $65! Please, Tim, as you read this, I beg of you not to spend any money. Skip lunch. Leave your money at home. Force yourself to. You'll have it before May 29th. Stay away from the deep end and the video camera. So this is the day we were playing in the pool and they recorded me on video and I said, "A bee?" I hope you're not thinking about a pool because you'd be right. Back on the left side of our house in Nicholson, we had a huge pool. When we did go into the pool, we had a great time. One such occasion was when we made a videotape called Nicholson Pool Fun with a camcorder Dad borrowed from someone he worked with. But I acted like such a jerk out there. Let me give you an example. They had this thing that shoots water or something. I was floating around the shallow end in one of those black rings when I accidentally dropped it into the Virginia area. I was imagining that the shallow end was the US and the deep end was Canada. When I lost it, I yelled, "My thing! My thing!" But the way I said it, it sounded like I was saying my thang. So Mom didn't like that. Another event in that tape I said out loud, "I see London, I see France, I see someone's underpants." I accented underpants so everyone could hear it. Now you are probably saying, well, why is that so bad? I'll tell you why. Mom hated my acting like that so much she and Dad taped right over it so we never see that again. Wow. Well, that's pretty much it for those. I don't know. This is, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really into that much as I thought I'd be. Life was just so boring back then. I didn't know who I was, and I wasn't into all the... I just enjoy complaining so much more. My positive self is boring. What can I say? I don't know. Maybe you don't think so? I don't know. But either way, there it is. So I'm gonna have to find something to read for the all Addison Signs episode, which right now I'm kind of on the fence between 1999 Diaries to bridge the gap between the 98 and 2000 ones, or 1994 Diaries, which was my senior year in high school. Anyway, that's all for now. I'll see you guys next time, and bye-bye.